Welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry if the lighting is bad. I don't really know how to get this lighting in this room right now. So this is the best I can do. But today I'm going to be reading chapter 16 of The School for Good and Evil. The name of chapter 16 is Cupid Goes Rogue. And this is how it goes. And this is the picture. First picture. Okay. Let's start. Shielding herself from a morning storm, Agatha accosted Hester in the Nevers lunch line. "Where's Sophie? Won't come out of their room. Missed all our classes," Hester said as a wolf dumped mystery meat into her pail. "Apparently sharing a coffin with Hort robs you of your will to live." When Agatha made it to Pudwood Halfway Bridge, her reflection was waiting for her, more glum and gaunt than the last time. "I need to see Sophie," Agatha said, avoiding eye contact with herself. "That's the second time he's looked at you that way." "Huh? Second time who looked at me?" "Tedros." "Well, Sophie won't listen to me." "Well, maybe Sophie isn't Tedros's true love then." "She has to be," Agatha said, suddenly worried. "It can't be someone else. That's how we're getting back home. Who else could be? Beatrix, Serena, Millie, you." Agatha looked up. Her reflection smiled hideously. Agatha's eyes veered back to her wet clumps. "That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. First off, love is something storybooks invented to keep girls busy. Secondly, I hate Tedros. Third, he thinks I'm an evil witch, which, given my recent behavior, might be true. Now let me through." Her reflection stopped smiling. "You think we're a witch?" Agatha glowered at herself. "We're making our friend win her true love, just so we can take her away from him." Her reflection instantly turned uglier. "Definitely evil," it said, and vanished. The door to room 66 was unlocked. Agatha found Sophie curled under her scorched, tattered covers. "I saw it," Sophie hissed. "I saw him pick you. Here I'm worried about Beatrix when you're the double-crossing, backstabbing fink. Look, I don't know why Tedros keeps choosing me," Agatha said, squeezing rain from her hair. Sophie's eyes drilled into hers. "I want him to choose you, you fool," Agatha yelled. "I want us to go home." Sophie searched her face for a long moment. With a sigh, she turned to the window. "You don't know what it was like. I still smell him everywhere. He's in my nose, Agatha. They've given him his own room until the stench goes away. But who's to say where skunk ends and Hort begins?" Shuddering, Sophie turned back. I did everything you said, Aggie. I focused on all the things I love about Tedros. His skin, his eyes, his cheekbones." "Sophie, that's his looks. Tedros won't feel a connection if you just like him because he's handsome." "How's it that different from every other girl?" Sophie frowned. "I didn't want to think about his crown or his fortune. That's shallow. Think about who he is, his personality, his values, what he's like deep down." "Excuse me? I know how to make a boy love me," Sophie huffed, shooing her out. "I just stop ruining things and let me do things my way." Apparently Sophie's way was to humiliate herself as much as possible. During lunch the next day, she sidled up to Tedros in the Evers line, only to have his boys crowd her, chomping blue mint leaves. Then she tried to get the prince alone in the surviving fairy tales, but Beatrix stuck to him like glue, taking every opportunity to remind him that he picked her coffin. "Tedros, can I talk to you?" Sophie blurted finally. "Why would he talk to you?" Beatrix said. "Because we're friends, you buzzing gnat." "Friends," Tedros flared. "I've seen how you treat your friend. Use them, betray them. Use them, betray them, call them fat, call them liars. Appreciate the offer. I'll pass. Attacking, betraying, lying. Sounds like one of our Nevers is using her rules," Eva beamed. Sophie was so despondent, she even ate a piece of Dot's chocolate. We'll find you a love spell somehow, said Dot. Thanks, Dot, Sophie sobbed, mouthful. This is amazing. Rat droppings makes the best fudge. Sophie gagged. Who'd you call fat, by the way? Dot asked. Things got worse. For a week-long challenge in henchman training and animal communications, students of both schools had to tote assigned creature sidekicks everywhere they went. At first, both schools exploded into chaos, with trolls tossing nevers out windows, stampeding satyrs, stealing lunch baskets, baby dragons setting desks on fire, and animals christening the good holes with mountains of dung. It's a tradition, an attempt at school unity, Professor Dovey said to her Evers, clothespin on her nose, however misguided and poorly organized. Castor scowled at Nevers flitting about the belfry, under siege by their henchmen. Once you get your heads out of your behinds, you'll realize who's master. And indeed, after 3 days, Hester had her baby ogre potty trained and spitballing Evers at lunch. Tedros had his wolfhound swaggering behind him. Anadol's python befriended her rats, and Beatrix's fluffy white bunny inspired such love she named it Teddy. Tedros kicked it every time he saw it. Even Agatha managed to teach her plucky ostrich how to steal candy without teachers noticing. Sophie, however, found herself with a chubby cupid named Grim, with bushy black hair, pug nose, pink wings, and eyes that changed colors depending on his moods. She knew his name was Grim because he wrote it all over room 66 in her favorite lipstick the first day. On day 2, he saw Agatha for the first time at lunch, and his eyes went from green to red. Then on day 3, while you were taught uses of wells, he started shooting arrows at Agatha, who leapt behind the forest well just in time. Call that thing off, Tedros yelled as he deflected Grim's arrows into the well with his training sword. Grim, she's my friend, Sophie shouted. Grim guiltily put his arrows away. On day 4, he spent all of Sophie's classes grinding his teeth in the corner and clawing at the walls. Lady Lesso gave him a curious stare. You know, by looking at him you'd think. She gazed at Sophie, then brushed the thought away. Never mind, just give him a little milk and he'll be more amenable. The milk worked on day 5. On day 6, Grim started shooting at Agatha again. Sophie tried everything she could to pacify him. She sang lullabies, gave him Dot's best fudge, even let him have her bed while she took the floor, but this time nothing would stop him. What do I do? Sophie cried to Lady Lesso after class. Some henchmen go rogue, Lady Lesso sighed. It's a hazard of villainy, but usually it's because of what? Oh, I'm sure he'll calm down, they always do. But by day 7, Grim started flying after Agatha during lunch, evading the grasp of students and wolves until Hester's demon finally subdued him. Agatha glared at Sophie from behind a tree. Maybe you remind him of someone, Sophie whimpered, but even Hester's demon couldn't control Grim for long. And the next day his arrows came tipped with fire. After one of these singed her ear, Agatha finally had enough. Remembering Yuva's last lesson, she lured the rogue Cupid into the blue forest during lunch and hid in the deepest stone well. When Grim giddily dove down the dark shaft to find her, she clubbed him with her clump and knocked him out cold. I thought he'd kill you, Sophie wept after they sealed the well with the boulder. I can take care of myself, Agatha said. Look, the ball is less than 2 months away, and things with Tedros are getting worse. We have to try a new... He's my prince, Sophie stiffened, and I'll handle him myself. Agatha didn't bother arguing. When Sophie was ready, she'd listen. While both schools went off with Castor and Uma to free their henchmen back to Blue Forest, Sophie stole away to the Library of Vice. It took all of her will not to run. It took all of her will not to run. It took all of her will not to run out the moment she came in. Perched atop Vice's top floor, the Library of Vice was like a normal library, only after a flood, fire, and tornado had swept through. Its rusty iron bookshelves were skewed at odd angles, with thousands of fallen books all over the floor. The walls were furry green with mold. The brown carpet was moist and sticky, and the room smelled like a mix of smoke and sour milk. Behind a desk in the corner was a gelatinous toad, puffing a cigar and stamping books one after one before tossing them on the floor. Subject of interest, he burped. Love spells, Sophie said, trying not to breathe. The toad nodded to a dank shelf in the corner. There were only 3 books left on it. Thorns, Not Roses, Why Love is a Curse by Baron Dracul. A Never's Guide to Ending True Love by Dr. Walter Bartoli. Foolproof Love Spells and Potions by Glinda Gooch. Sophie threw open the 3rd, ran down its list of spells until she found spell 53, the True Love Heart Hex. She ripped out the page and fled before she fainted from the stench. Dot, Hester, and Annabelle hunched over it during lunch. Once a boy is under the spell, he will instantly fall in love with you and do whatever you ask, Annabelle read. Works particularly well with eliciting proposals of marriage and invitations to balls. All you have to do is mix the prescribed potion into a bullet and shoot it at your true love's heart. Sophie read excitedly. It won't work, Hester grabbed. You're just mad because I found it. Hester snatched a heap of letters from her bag. Dear Hester, I don't know any love spells that work. Dear Hester, love spells are notoriously dodgy. Dear Hester, love spells are dangerous. Use a bad spell and you can warp someone permanently. It's foolproof, Dot said. Says who? Glinda Gooch? It says it's worth a try. I say it's worth a try if it means we don't have to talk about balls and kisses anymore, Annabelle said, red eyes studying the recipe. But heart, lodestones, cat bone, these are all standard ingredients. Oh, we need a drop of Tedros's scent. How are we going to get that? Dot said. If it never even gets near an Ever, the wolves are on us. We need an Ever to do it. Agatha plopped down in a heap of pink. What did I miss? Sophie only got 5 words out. No spells, no hexes, no tricks. Agatha scolded. It has to be true love. But look, Sophie held up a page and a painting of a prince and princess kissing at a bowl. The caption, only authentic substitute for true love. Agatha crumpled the page and dumped it in Sophie's pail. I don't want to hear about it again. Sophie spent the rest of lunch picking at her loaf of cheese. 2 days later, Hester felt a jab in the middle of the night. She stared to see Sophie standing, sniffing away. 2 days later, Hester felt a jab in the middle of the night. She stirred to see Sophie standing over her bed, sniffing a blue tie with a gold T. Smells like heaven. I'm sure there's enough here. For a moment, Hester looked confused. Then her cheeks swelled, ready to detonate. What about a villain's choir? Sophie said. I think that'll be my second proposal as captain. Hester stayed up all night mixing the ingredients, using her mother's old crockery. She blended them into a frothy pink potion, distilled the love potion into shimmering gas, and poured the gas into a heart-shaped bullet over the fireplace. Just hope he doesn't die, Hester growled, handing it over. Sophie practiced her aim for 2 days before she knew she was ready. She waited until surviving fairy tales when Yuba and the group were climbing trees to study forest flora. When Tedros reached for a blue hornbeam branch. She saw her chance and drew the bullet into her slingshot. "You're mine," Sophie whispered. The pink heart shot off the sling and flew straight for the silver swan on Tedros's heart, only to turn crimson, ricochet off him like rubber, and smash back into her with a violent alien scream. The whole group spun in shock. Sophie's black robes were splashed with the giant bloody letter F. For failing to abide by the rules, Yuba glowered from a tree. "No spells until after the unlocking." Beatrix picked the broken heart bullet off the ground. "A love spell? You tried a love spell on Tedros?" The class burst into howls. Sophie turned to Tedros, who couldn't have looked more enraged. Next to him, Agatha had the same expression. Sophie covered her face and fled, sobs echoing through the forest. "Every year a rascal tries something, but even the sorriest rascals know that there's no shortcuts to love," Yuba said. "We'll start with proper spells next week, I assure you, but for now, on to ferns." "How can we tell if a fern is actually a never in disguise?" Agatha didn't follow the group to the fern field. Slouched against an oak, she gazed at the heart-shaped pieces in the grass, just as shattered as her dreams of home. Hester came back from supper to find Sophie sprawled on her bed, a puddle of tears. Sophie looked up, the red F on her rose even brighter now. "It won't come off. I tried everything." Hester dumped her school bag on the floor. "We're practicing our talents in the common room. Feel free to join." She opened the door and paused. "I warned you." Sophie jumped at the slam. All night she couldn't sleep, dreading the thought of wearing the F to lunch the next day. Finally she managed to doze off and woke to find the sun up and all her roommates gone to breakfast. Agatha was sitting on the edge of her bed, picking dead leaves out of her pink dress. "A wolf saw me this time, but I lost him in the tunnel." She glanced up at a gilded mirror on the wall. "Looks nice in here." "Thank you for bringing it," Sophie rasped. "My room's happier without it." Tense silence. "I'm sorry, Agatha." "Sophie, I'm on your side. We have to work together if we want to get out of here alive." "The spell is our only hope," Sophie said softly. "Sophie, we can't give up. We have to get home." Sophie stared into the mirror, eyes welling. "What happened to me, Agatha? You want the ball without winning your prince. You want your kiss without doing the work. Look, I had to clean plates after supper all week, so I read while doing it." Agatha pulled a book from her dress. "Winning Your Prince" by Emma Anemone, and started flipping to dog-eared pages. "According to this, winning true love is the ultimate challenge in every fairy tale. It might seem like love at first sight, but there's always skill behind it. But I already—" "Shut up and listen. It comes down to 3 things. 3 things a girl has to do to win her fairy tale prince. First, you need to flaunt your strengths. Second, you need to speak through actions, not words. And third, you need to parade competing suitors. If you just do these 3 things and do them well, we stand a—" Sophie raised her hand. "What? I can't flaunt anything in this potato sack. Can't act with that she-devil in my face and have no competing suitors except a boy who looks and smells like a rat. Look at me, Agatha. I have an F on my chest. My hair looks like a boy's. I have bags under my eyes. My lips are dry, and yesterday I found a blackhead on my nose." "And how are you going to change that?" Agatha snapped. Sophie bowed her head. The ugly letter cast shadows on her hands. "Tell me what to do, Aggie. I'm listening." "Show him who you are," Agatha said, softening. She gazed deep into her friend's eyes. "Show him the real Sophie." Sophie saw the faith burning bright in Agatha's smile. Then, turning to the mirror, she managed a sly smile of her own, a smile that matched one of a grim little Cupid, trapped deep in darkness, waiting patiently to be left out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and that was chapter 16 of the School for Good and Evil. So make sure to check out my channel for all the other chapters. Bye, and please subscribe to my